Inglewood, California. I'm tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. I was up. I read all 64,000 pages of the JFK files last night. Turns out he was murdered.
YouTube has terminated our main channel with millions of views just for telling the truth. But you can help us regrow by just subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and commenting down below. Thank you. Trump's no redactions JFK files dump is a classic Trump chaos, rushing a sensitive process that requires care, exposing government workers to identity theft risks, and essentially duplicating what Biden had already released properly 2 years ago.
Salutes, everybody gets all bent out of shape. Donald Trump today had what he described as a very good phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine. All his calls are either very good or perfect. At this point, Zelensky, this guy's been part of more unpleasant phone calls than Ghostface from Scream. Yesterday, Trump said he had a great call with his buddy Vladimir Putin and that Putin agreed to a ceasefire on bombing Ukrainian energy facilities. He said he would stop, and then a few hours later, Russia launched attacks on, any guesses? That's right, Ukrainian energy facilities. The best deal maker in the world.
Trump brags about a very good call with Zelensky after telling Putin to stop bombing energy facilities. Then Putin immediately bombs Ukrainian energy facilities. The best deal maker in the world can't even get his friend Vladimir to honor a ceasefire for a few hours.
For the brothers kissing part. This whole idea of Putin just taking Ukraine, it seems to have inspired Trump, who now, it seems like, wants to do that himself.
Here's my problem with Canada. Canada was meant to be the 51st state. Any one of
You're tougher with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st state. And
okay, but
but listen to this for a second.
We need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not going to let them get close to China.
Look, right? I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada.
Trump's bizarre claim that Canada was meant to be the 51st state and calling Canadians the nastiest people shows his disturbing imperialist tendencies. He seems to view sovereign nations as property to be acquired rather than as partners to be respected.
Okay? I don't know how we're going to make it through 4 years of this, or even more perhaps if the human bag of wet garbage known as Steve Bannon has his way.
President Trump, I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
Oh, you know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
Bannon saying we're working on getting Trump a third term is a direct assault on constitutional term limits. The disturbing part is that violating democratic norms is now openly discussed as a political strategy rather than condemned as un-American.
Visit Mount Rushmore in the great state of
North Dakota, Washington,
Wyoming,
The mountain.
Nobody knows and there's no way to tell. God bless wherever we are.
The push to add Trump to Mount Rushmore alongside Washington and Lincoln demonstrates the cult-like worship within MAGA circles. That his supporters can't even name who's currently on the monument or where it's located shows this isn't about historical significance, but pure idol worship.
Even weirder, Trump spent a lot of the day yesterday at the Kennedy Center in his new and ridiculous capacity as their chairman of the board. The Kennedy Center, if you don't know, is a venue. It's a performing arts center. They have shows, they give out awards, they give out honors, they have concerts, etc. And the President of the United States is in charge of appointing the board of the Kennedy Center. So last month, Trump kicked most everyone off the board and replaced them with a crew of his cronies. And then he had the cronies elect him CEO of the Kennedy Center. And now he's focused on the important work of making sure liberals don't ever set foot in the place. Fatty Lapone had a photo shoot at the Opera House today where he struck a pose like as if he'd got the lead in Evita.
So you want a little picture like this?
Perfect.
Go ahead. Are you guys ready? Come on. We're good for...
Sir, if you want to speak to us later, too, when we're closer, that would be great. Perfect. Thank you, press. Right this way.
Thank you. Why would anyone want a picture like this? I mean, it's like he's just about to start the YMCA dance, and then the last time I saw him pose like that was in front of 600 cheeseburgers.
Trump appointing himself head of the Kennedy Center shows his unquenchable thirst for cultural authority, despite his remarkably thin knowledge of the arts. It's the perfect metaphor for his approach to leadership. Seize control first, figure out what it means later.
This is about to come true. We also got an update on that war in Ukraine Trump promised he would end in 24 hours. Old fart of the deal spoke with his pal Putin by phone today, which that seems like a bad... Putting Trump on the phone with Putin is like putting your grandma on the phone with a Nigerian prince. This fellow is so charming. Putin agreed to nothing today. People keep asking if Trump is getting played by Putin, which is like asking if Hava Nagila is getting played at a bar mitzvah. Yes is the answer. But according to White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt,
we are on the 10th yard line of peace.
The 10th yard line of peace. There's no better metaphor for this administration than screwing up a metaphor about peace.
Putting Trump on the phone with Putin continues to raise serious national security concerns. When the White House describes peace talks as being on the 10-yard line, they're exposing both their diplomatic inexperience and their fondness for broken metaphors.
About peace. You know, in Minnesota, I don't know if you saw this, but there are some Republican lawmakers there cooking up some historically stupid legislation. A group of state senators in Minnesota they're trying to push through a bill that would classify Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness. The bill says Trump derangement syndrome means the acute onset of paranoia in otherwise normal persons that is in reaction to the policies and presidencies of President Donald J. Trump.
The irony of lawmakers trying to classify criticism of Trump as a mental illness while one of the bill's sponsors gets arrested for allegedly soliciting a minor perfectly encapsulates the moral contradiction at the heart of mega politics.
On landing. Tesla stock is way down. Elon Musk has been making the rounds in the right-wing media to try to appear to be a human being. Yesterday, he was guest of honor on the Ted Cruz podcast, where Sweaty Teddy, Ted Cruz seems, everything he knows about technology seems to come from movies he's seen. Ted asked Elon a question about the dangers of AI.
Is Skynet real? Like you get the apocalyptic visions of AI. How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely. Maybe 10%.
On what time frame?
As Tesla stock plummets, Musk's retreat to the friendly right-wing media environments exposes the growing gap between his public image as a visionary and his increasingly partisan political activities.
It's one thing, but it is absolutely astonishing to see these ridiculous Republicans desperately fawning over him, trying to get his attention and win his love. There are a lot of them. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands, but only 5 of them honored His Majesty so parasitically this week, they earned a nomination for the coveted title of Golden Groveler. And the nominees are Laura Trump.
When history looks back on this time in America, I do believe that it will be Donald Trump and Elon Musk who were reflected as 2 of the saviors of this country and really of the entire world.
Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick.
You know you can't tackle Donald Trump. He is the most important, the smartest, the most capable leader in the world, and he's not going to let someone push him around.
Attorney General Pam Bondi.
We all work for the greatest president in the history of our country. We are so proud to work at the directive of Donald Trump. It is
Representative Lauren Boebert.
Every day is like waking up to Christmas, and we just get so many blessings under President Trump and his administration, his amazing cabinet picks. This is a fantastic time to be alive.
And Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller.
Well, President Trump, as has now been well established, is the greatest negotiator, the greatest deal maker, the greatest diplomat, and the greatest peacemaker that we have ever seen in this country.
Well, it was a very tough decision. All the nominees delivered extraordinary tongue work this week.
The competition for who can praise Trump most effectively reveals the transformation of Republican politics from policy debate to personality cult, where loyalty is measured by the extravagance of public flattery.
Terrible weekend of deadly storms. 42 Americans were killed in tornadoes and wildfires in several states. And while the devastation was happening, our commander-in-chief meteorologist was back at Mar-a-Lago, again playing golf. As the storms raged, he offered these words of comfort to those who lost their families and their homes. He wrote, "I just won the golf club championship, probably my last, at Trump International Golf Club in Palm Beach County, Florida. Such a great honor. The awards dinner is tonight at the club. I want to thank the wonderful golf staff and all of the many fantastic golfers that participated in the event. Such fun."
On Trump playing golf during deadly storms. Trump's boasting about winning his own golf tournament while Americans were dying in tornadoes perfectly encapsulates his priorities. Self-congratulation first, presidential duties second.
Indeed. This, of course, comes after Trump chided Joe Biden last year for being on vacation during Hurricane Helene. If you scored hypocrisy like golf, he'd be 30 strokes under par right now. Can you imagine if Biden bragged about winning a golf tournament during a disaster? Sean Hannity would have a rage boner for weeks. But I don't want to, you know what?
On Trump's hypocrisy regarding Biden and natural disasters. The same man who attacked Biden for being on vacation during a hurricane now celebrates his golf victory as Americans lose their homes and lives. The hypocrisy is as predictable as it is callous.
Play the ref. You know what playing the ref is? Like the great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He'd scream and scream at the ref. He'd scream. He had been known for throwing the chair across the court and slapping a player. Coach, don't do that. Don't do it. And that's when he threw the chair. He starts going crazy. I don't care. Do you know Bobby Knight? Bobby Knight. By the way, I love Bobby Knight. He'd scream at the ref. He would play the ref. He would play the ref. Playing the ref. Bobby Knight would play the ref. That's why I brought up the Bobby Knight story.
Oh, is that? I thought it was dementia,
On Trump's Bobby Knight rambling. His repetitive, meandering Bobby Knight monologue demonstrates a concerning pattern of cognitive issues that's becoming harder for even his supporters to ignore.
This is what he posted at 12:35 a.m. He gets up in the middle of the night, writes, "The pardons that sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselect committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by autopen." In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. Now, autopen is this device every modern White House uses, including Trump's, for presidential documents. It's a robot pen that has your signature. Trump's claiming, without any proof, of course, that Biden never actually signed those pardons and didn't know they were. In Trump's opinion, you know, a presidential signature is not official unless it is written in black Sharpie on a woman's chest and or wrist.
On Trump's autopen claims. Trump's midnight rantings about autopens and pardons reveals both his desperation to undo Biden's legacy and his fundamental misunderstanding of how the government he once led actually works.
200% tariff on champagne and wine. Decision to place tariffs on American whiskey. Bear us a sob story, all right? We're only doing this because your president started it.
On Trump's tariff threats against Europe. Trump's escalating tariff war with Europe shows a concerning pattern of economic brinkmanship that risks disrupting global markets and harming American consumers who will ultimately bear these costs.
I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S., just a straight artificial line. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping O Canada, the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states.
On Trump's comments about Canada. Trump's bizarre remarks about Canada becoming the 51st state reflects his transactional view of international relations and shows a troubling disregard for the sovereignty of one of America's closest allies.